All right, guys, let's get cracking here. A couple things I want to show you guys. Again, mostly a reiteration what we went over Sunday for those of you who are members, but we got a little more evidence out there with the first 2 days of trading this week. So we could go over it again, help us see things a little clearer. All right. And so here's what's been taking place anyway, right? So if you haven't been in front of your screen for the past 2 days, there's been interesting price action, okay? We all expected, everybody expected some sort of run up on some of these hot tech names, right? Into or ahead of numbers, okay? The Tesla, the Microsoft, all the stuff that's been going up, all the stuff everybody wants to own, and like we always say, for good reason why they want to own it. So a lot of times when the street already knows that these are companies that are fundamentally explosive, they're actually growing earnings at an explosive rate, even in this type of economy. Actually, with COVID, right, with the coronavirus, a lot of these companies have blossomed because of it, right? So when everybody knows or has an idea of what the quarter is going to look like, you usually get this run up into the number, right? And it actually started a little bit on the earlier side. Usually you start to see it now as banks report and some of the other stuff that people aren't too interested in report. But, you know, Tesla is a good example. That thing happened in what? It was a span of 3 days, and that thing just exploded. And basically, you had earnings run up and everything else all in one take place already. Okay? So what we're seeing now is some profit taking, some selling, some protection in the option market in these things, protecting some of these lofty profits. Because obviously, you know, a lot of these things have come too much too fast, okay? Whether we think it's too much too fast or not, usually when you get this type of acceleration, you get a pause like this and a reversal like this yesterday. So it's quite common. So it's going to be interesting to see now how this plays out as we move forward here, okay? Because what we've been seeing in the flow, as some of these names have been cooling off a bit, right, to start this week, we've been seeing rotation, right? The early signs were actually late last week when DIA, XLI, it was mostly ETF stuff that really caught our eye. Was giving us a heads up that there possibly could be some rotation into the industrials, into some cyclicals, things like that, okay? And the problem with that trade, there hasn't been any conviction or follow through. You'll see some signs one day, the following day, they're sweeping puts and these things look awful again, okay? This go around is actually lasting a few days here, right? So we had some early signs late last week. I think it was Thursday, carried over into early this week. You could see it in the price action, right? We talk about these names all the time. Caterpillar, the Deers, right? DE, which still hasn't caught a bet yet. And they always hit this name. UNP, which actually caught some really nice action the past couple days. Transportation name, railroad. Boeing. Okay, and granted, like all these names, and this is what makes this spot so difficult in these things, the majority of the order flow we're seeing catches earnings, right? Sometimes we'll see sweeps, some spec action that expired before earnings, and that gives you a better idea that maybe they're playing a run up or playing off momentum. All right, but some of the good looking action that we want to see in these names, I'll give you an example, like a UNP. they're buying November's, and it's good looking action. You know, you have earnings July 23rd. Okay. So it's not like I can change my tune just because, you know, I like the rotation and we're starting to see it play out, and I like how some of these names are set up. I can't just change what I've been telling you guys ad nauseum forever, okay, that we really don't know, or we really can't get an accurate read if this is earnings positioning or not. There's no way of knowing. Okay, we know that around when you get close to earnings, right, all of a sudden magically you start to see good looking action come into spots that it was pulling teeth to get to prior. Okay, because there's higher odds of stock replacement, that whole spiel. We went over it a gazillion times, the reasons. Okay, so we can't just throw that aside because we want to and just assume that this is all real buying, real rotation coming in, okay? Because at the same time, what I'm seeing, and you guys see it as well, is I'm still seeing them buying the names they're supposed to be rotating out of. Some of the better looking flow is still showing up in those names. And this is supposed to be rotation, all right? So the point I'm trying to make is, it's going to be really interesting to see, and it's most likely just going to be short-term trades here. Nothing too much more than that with conviction, but it's going to be really interesting to see what materializes from here, okay? Do these rotation names get a little rally, stall, and they just go and buy these two-day pullbacks, which they already started to do today, in the new economy, explosive growth, disruptor names, okay, and run them up for earnings? Like, I'll give you an example because it's not too far-fetched. Like, here's an AYX, right? And these are the things, like if you're eyeing an entry into the name, this is the stuff you got to look for, right? So, boom. They do it in 2 days. 2 days. That's all it took. And they reversed it red to green on that second day. All right, so it's almost like they spit some of the late chasers out, right? Because remember, this is what we get concerned about when chasing, you know, a rally, right? This is what, even for a trade, that's what you get concerned about. All right, so the point I'm getting at is it's going to be really interesting to see, especially ahead of earnings with these names. Do these names just snap back and go out into highs into their numbers for the most part? Or they stay in some sort of consolidation, right? And consolidation is not going to look like what I just drew, not in these names. So you're going to see stuff like this, you know? Rally, down, rally, down. They're going to be big moves there. So every time it rallies, you're going to get the feel, up, here it goes. And then every time it rolls over, you're going to feel like, oh, there she goes. You know, and it's just going to be working off, you know, all this heat in the sense into earnings. And then, you know, earnings and the reaction to earnings is going to dictate how they look going forward from that point. All right. So what we want to look for anyway, it's really difficult here, as far as swing positions are concerned, to put anything on with too much conviction. Okay. Why? Because again, the E word, you have earnings that are right smack in the middle of everything here. We're in the heart of earnings season. All right. What you could do if you really like a name that catches action, like let's just say a UNP, right? You're looking for a rotation name to own. You've been too much in the software group, too much in the high growth group, and you're looking for some sort of rotation name to own, right? And you really like this UNP. And their November calls. You can, you know, start a position and come post earnings, right? You get same entry or better entry, you can add to it. All right, if you get a nice earnings pop off it, you make some money off the trade, case closed. All right, so you can start the process if you really want to in some of these names. Same thing, I think, goes for a lot of these software names, right? Because like me, CD, and I were talking about this, then I got a couple of questions on it. Like a name like MDLA, right? Underbelly software name, okay? These are some things that off pullbacks you can start looking at with time if you're looking to put them away. Just understand that you may be early and you're willing to add into any further weakness, especially off earnings. That's what you got. You got to have that conviction there. Otherwise, it's not worth it, and you might as well just wait till post earnings and take a look at the flow, because that's where you're going to get the answers. There's no guessing. All right, there's no guessing come post earnings. You're going to know if sweepers are interested in these things or not. Okay, and the likelihood is if sweepers do get interested in these names again, we're not going to see the flow. We're going to see some flow, but you're not going to see the same names involved in the flow. Like, I bet you like a name like ZI, which hasn't done a thing and hasn't caught any flow to this day, since its IPO. When these names are gearing up for another run, this would be a name they come and tattoo. You know what I mean? It'll be a new batch of names that are involved, which are going to present a better risk-reward opportunity. So it's worth waiting if you can be patient. Okay, will you miss some opportunities? Of course. Okay, but there is another way to approach it if you don't have the patience, and that's what I just told you: nibbling, starting to get involved in a small way, and then if you get that better entry, you can add to it. Now, that doesn't apply to Tesla, right? That doesn't apply to Tesla up here, okay? I'm talking about names that have pulled back off the highs in a decent way, and you feel like you have a better entry on it than you did when you were looking at the stock, a couple of weeks ago. Like this AYX and MDLA, these are good examples, right? Or a plan, which we were just talking about, right? So those sort of things, not Tesla that just went parabolic and had a downtick. All right, so that doesn't apply to that. Okay, yeah, that put some big action again today. When are their earnings? SWBI. I thought they just announced. YY, right? So if you were looking for an entry in this name, good call, Yosti. Like, this is exactly what I mean, okay? You had this sick run here. You couldn't chase it. You were waiting for this, and you got it, okay? So you may be a little bit early. You should be okay with it. Earnings are here, so they're still ahead of you. All right, but maybe there's something in between that's worth you jumping the gun, right? That's a decision you got to make. Okay, that's a decision you got to make. But the way I determine it usually is if post earnings the stock is at a similar spot or lower, would I be willing to add? And if the answer is yes, then I'll pull the trigger. Otherwise, I'll just wait till post earnings. Okay? Because in the meantime, here's the thing too. Like, we're talking about stuff with time, right? We're using UNP as an example. We're talking about some of these growth names that you may be finding an entry in for swing positions. But in the interim, there are going to be trades in between. So you can play a YY for a snapback trade if you're interested, and nothing more than that. There are trades in between. The cyclical names, some of the rotation names, some of these things you could have got a trade out of already, and some of them are set up well for the the next few days. So those are just trades, right, that we've been focusing on for the most part. What I'm referring to when I'm discussing, initially here, were positions, because whether you think it or not, that's where the most of you fit in as far as trading style. Okay, some of you want your cake, you want to have your cake and eat it too, meaning you want the reward of a swing position with time, but you want it in weeklies, right? And the recent price action has got you greedy and you lost your mind. Okay, but that's not realistic, right? That's not always realistic. So you got to be realistic about things. All right, so that's what I'm referring to as far as these names are concerned. All right, but don't get me wrong. Like I've been telling you guys, the action in names of late has been tricky. Like I've told you guys numerous times, don't sugarcoat it. I don't pretend like I'm some stock selecting guru. I hate to use the word lost, because I'm not lost, but I've been uncomfortable in individual names. I really, really have. And the problem, why it bothers me, is usually when I'm uncomfortable in individual names, okay, that means I'm just based off sentiment, right? Or based off the flow, I just don't have a clear picture, okay? That's not the case, okay? Like we've been discussing, there's no reason to be bearish, right? There's no reason to be bearish here. There hasn't been any reason to be been bearish over the last month. But I've been very confused as far as individual names are concerned. And one of the reasons are a lot of the names that were catching the best looking flow and I wanted to own already have gone nuts. You know what I mean? Already have gone nuts. So now I'm looking for fresh, different, new ideas, and that hasn't been where the best sweeper activity has been. So that's what's made this extremely, extremely tricky. All right. And my fear is that a lot of these names, okay, what's been going on, not all of them, some have been getting carried away, but a lot of these names, the flow and the price action is justified. Okay, not justified meaning, oh, they're all trading at a 8 PE, so that means they're justified. But I've seen it in bull cycles of the past where leaders get this hot, with fundamentals to back them, with explosive growth and fundamentals to back them, and so much money on the sidelines that players are scrambling to own these things. That's the demand on these things. You know what I mean? That's the demand on all these things here. You see it, with every single one of them, from a Teladoc to LVGO to any new name that comes out of a little breather in the market. You see the excitement, you see the demand and price action, right? You see the flow pour in. It's just, and it reminds me a lot of the late 90s, before things bubbled up and blew up. You know what I mean? I told you guys earlier, like I get that 1998 feel, like coming out of the 1998 correction, where I was just getting into business and everybody I just met in the business was getting knocked out of the business. I'm just getting in and I'm just making my rounds, meeting new people, trying to learn from, and they all got wiped out. Left me hanging, and then coming out of that correction was an incredible rally that featured, a lot of tech internet names right? Just like what we're seeing now, that just went bananas, bananas. So that's my fear out there, right? That's I feel like, you know, I have to look for entries in these things, because if that's going to be the case, you know what I mean? That's where the money's going to be made. So I want these pullbacks and consolidations to find windows of opportunity in. All right. And again, the flow is there. It's not like they're not buying these things on dips. They're buying them. You know, they're buying them. There's just not too many dips out there. And these things are just unconscious right now. All right. So that's that. Now, why am I, and here's the beauty about it all, right? Like, these are all the names. These are all the names everybody wants to find a way to get into, right? These are all the names everybody wants to find a way to get into, from tech to anti-COVID to drug stocks to you name it, all right? The market, I think, the rally would be more powerful if you get rotation like we saw today, right? We just recently discussed that. I think if you get that rotation where some of the industrials, some of the more cyclical names participate, even if you get these new economy names lagging, I think the rally will be stronger in that case than what we've been seeing to this point, which is the cyclicals do nothing, are dead, and these things go nuts. So that's the beauty, I think, of the spot we're in too, is that either way it goes, unless they decide to sell everything, right, at once, either way it goes, the likelihood is it's going to hold up the market. If they sell everything at once, right, you could make the case, oh, it's a new bear market and game over and blah, blah, blah. But I could also make the case that you'll have LVGO at an entry that you didn't think was possible today. And there's a lot of demand, a lot of money on the sidelines that would be interested in it. You know what I mean? So, but here are the reasons quickly not to, while you can't be bearish, or you can't get too bearish. You can look for day trades, but if you're trying to catch a swing short position, make sure you have your riffraff hat on, because you're in that camp. Okay? Let's just call that as it is. You want to short, that's okay, but you're riffraff. Okay? I'm going to call you riffraff. No hard feelings. I'm going to call you riffraff. You can short. All right. So here's why. Riffraff are rolling short still. Okay. So you want to catch the top? You want to call Armageddon? You think this second wave of Corona is scary? I agree with you, but so does every single riffraff and their mother. All right, and they've been short for the most part this whole rally. They came out right here. They pooped their bloomers right here. And guess what that marked? The top of the rally here. Okay? And then as soon as they get a little bit of weakness, they slam right back on the gas, and they're max short. Okay? They're max short. Maybe you think they're going to be right. Maybe you think all of the riffraff, they're going to cash a big ticket this time. You can make that argument. Go ahead. You're not going to find too many examples throughout history where they cash a big ticket. They may look right for a couple days, week, but very rarely throughout my career have I ever seen them cash a big ticket. All right. So that's number one. We don't want to be on that side. Okay. The other thing we got going on here It's nothing major, but SPY short interest is still at an elevated level considering the rally, which kind of caught me by surprise a little bit too. You know, like if you want to call euphoria or bubble and Dave Portnoy and this guy is pushing stonks, whatever I don't understand the stonks go up every day, whatever that means. But you want to claim that's a bubble, that's fine. But usually happens when SPY short interest is down there. Yeah, stonks. What's that mean? I don't understand. What's stonks? A meme, whatever the fuck it is. All right, it's a meme. Sorry, I didn't know it was a meme. A meme. Memes and gifs. So this is where SPY short interest is right now. Okay, yeah, not I wouldn't say like you're up here and then you say, wow, you got a lot of ammo for a squeeze, right? Like this here. So I wouldn't, we're not there, but we're not down here either. All right, so tough to really make the claim that everybody is all in, right? You still see the money market stuff I show you guys daily, money market funds and stuff like that. What's this here? Goldman. This was from Goldman. Oh yeah, that's what. This is every Tuesday. That's why I post this here. So here's that thing we go over every Tuesday, right? At a Goldman. Oh, it's mispronounced purposely to make them sound like riffraff. I got it. Thank you, Paul. So this is the risk off, risk on sentiment indicators at a Goldman we look at every Tuesday. All right, and the same thing, right? We spoke about this on the Sunday webinar. The short-term stuff, there's been heat, right? Momentum, that's investors' intelligence. But these are short-term stuff, okay? They're more of, you see some bullish behavior, okay? Very short-dated stuff. The stuff that's more positioning stuff that can't be as nimble and you got to have more conviction, right? The fund flow, right, the CTFC positioning, all that stuff is still this half down, right? This is bullish territory. When you're in here, that's a bullish signal. And this, leans bullish. So, when you want to try to catch a short position, and it's still not easy, but when you want to try to catch a short swing, where it's a decent risk reward, you have to at least, you're looking down in this neck of the woods. You know what I mean? Down in this neck of the woods. All right. Because the logic is that any little weakness, right? You get some weakness and these are going to be lined up for a squeeze again. Riff-raff is retail spec money. So this hasn't changed much. Since we've been looking at it, this hasn't changed much, right? The only thing that changed when we had the little pullback punch in the jaw that we got recently, we had some of the short-term stuff come to here, right? You could see here 1 month is the orange. So some of the short-term stuff moved around a little bit. Put the calls. But this blue, orange, light blue has been here for the whole duration. And this is what their other indicators look at. So here's an average percentile of sentiment indicators. So neutral as a whole. And this is risky versus safe asset fund flows. Look at that. They're going to crash, right? That's nuts. But anyway, that's the same stuff. And that's it. Those were the 4 things I wanted to share with you guys as far as sentiment is concerned. Anybody have any questions on the sentiment side? Do you see the logic why you have to try to lean bullish here? Like, And don't get me wrong, like me, I'm being extremely selective, especially swing positions. I'm being really, really selective. I haven't been doing much of anything on the swing calls that I like to do with time. You know, I've been pretty nimble and tactical, but you know, I look at this and it reminds me that I still need to lean bullish, right? You're going to pull back like we just had. You know, if this is up here, right? If this is up here in the red and we see Sharpies are all hedged up, then, all right, listen, I can't be, you know, call me a perma bull, but I'm not going to be an ass. All right? There's more downside. All right? But when this is down here, any little weakness, any little feel of uneasiness you have, you don't have to be all in bullish. You have to lean bullish. Right? You got to look through bullish lenses. Put the bullish glasses on. Look for opportunities on the long side. When you get the little, you know, windows of weakness, or periods of weakness in selling. So these are just reminders to do that. And again, it's up to you, depending how comfortable you feel. Like for me, some of you may feel more comfortable in a lot of the stuff that's out there, like the Tesla and all that stuff. That may be your bag. Maybe you, right, you see this and, you know, you look at Fibonacci's and you like to play the momentum names off pullbacks for longs, right? That may be your style. You know, that's what people don't realize. Everybody's different. You may be more comfortable doing that. I'm not. So that's why I had trouble participating in that stuff. All right? But we can all look at the same stuff and the same edge is there. This is telling us, you know, off fades, off pullbacks, off weakness, we need to lean bullish until this stuff changes. So that's the story there. Do I see rotation in the near term? Well, we're seeing rotation. We've been seeing rotation. It started with the diamond guy. Like here, I'll show you. Neil Diamond came in. Short dated, playing just July's. That's another thing, you know, that they're buying. All the rotation stuff has been, for the most part, short dated. And, you know, some of the software stuff off dips, they've been buying with a little time. But here is, he was a day early, actually. Where is he? July, what was the date? July 13th? No, it was this guy, right? Here it is. July 14th, right? Yeah, I can't keep track of the days here. So there was multiple sweeps, and then there was put selling. So here is one of the bets, all right? We refer to him as Neil Diamond. Get it? DIA Diamond. And the sweep has got a pretty good track record. That's why a lot of us follow it. You know, these DIAs have a good track record. They usually cash a ticket. You know, this was really short dated, meaning just out a week. Usually he comes with a little bit more time, but that was the first sign, as well as these guys, XLI, which is industrials, that there may be signs of rotation. All right, so we started to see, let me go to the latest. We started to see stuff like this. See? Hold on, someone's texting me here. And those were the signs. Now, here's the problem, okay? Why don't I trust it? Like some of you saying, why aren't I as jumped up as I usually get off Neil Diamond? Right? Usually Neil Diamond, I'm jumping out of my seat. One, they're Julys. Okay, so it's more of a trade than a bet on major rotation, right? Like it's a week if he holds it to the day of expiration. All right. So that's one. Two, you don't know if there's earnings positioning involved, right? It's going into the heart of earnings season. And you see some of the flow already in ETFs. We're seeing DIA call buying, right? We see IWM call buying. And then coming in at the same time, we'll see like QQQ put buying. So they can be playing pair trades. They expect a little outperformance from the Dow over the short term. So they're getting long industrials and they're short the Qs. You understand? So it's hedged, but they're looking to generate alpha or some outperformance. So that's the tricky part. That's the tricky part. But there's nothing, guys, there's nothing we can do about it because it's earnings season and it happens. You know what I mean? It's difficult enough when it's just rotation and this big of a disparity like we've been seeing. It's difficult enough to try to make sense out of the flow and see what's going on. You throw earnings into the mix and, it's going to get really sloppy. It's going to get really sloppy. No, XLI, we call Neil Diamond the one sweeper that shows up in DIA. DIA doesn't catch a ton of action. When it catches sweeper activity, usually does pretty well, So we refer to him as Neil Diamond. It's like a joke in the steam room. We gave him a name, that's all. It's not like Neil Diamond is sweeping, right, like 50 Cent. There you go. Exactly, Todd. Exactly. So, and then that's what we wanted to see, right? We saw that. Then we wanted to see some names see action, right? And, some of it's been really nice. Some of it's spec action. But granted, they're just July's. The short-term rotation is what they're playing in a lot of these things. Puff, puff, pass. Like UNP caught really nice action, right? Caterpillar caught short-term spec action. So again, if you were looking for a quick trade out of this rotation thing, it was there. If you weren't and you were looking for hypothetically like major rotation, something that can play out over the course of the next 3 to 6 months, this is not that. You know what I mean? This is not that. In my opinion, if it turns into that, or if it started as that, you would have seen action like we saw in UNP, in Caterpillar, in Deere, into all those leaders. That's what they like to do. Yeah, Disney caught some action too. That was a decent quick trade if you're looking for it. But again, you have earnings. You got a little bit of time, but you have earnings on the horizon. You want to if you're interested in the rotation, you want these things to hang around till after earnings. That's what you want to do. So this way, you see some flow come into them, you can feel good about it. You can feel good about it. You can feel some confidence off the flow, and you can have an idea to base it off of. Like right now, it can mean a number of different things. So you can't have the conviction. You can't have the conviction. Semi, what is that thing? There was flow yesterday and today. It's a biotech, I think. Right? I don't know what the hell it is. I saw it flowing in. I don't know what it is. Oh, yeah? Yeah, they bought a little more today. There was action in yesterday. Some of these biotechs, I don't know what the hell they are. Dr. Fauci, they've been sweeping the last couple of days. Had a really nice day yesterday. Up a little bit more today. Paging Dr. Fauci. Yeah. So there's a little bit of action out there for everything. It's just it's not, in my opinion, it's not a time, for me anyway, to to stick out your neck, because for me, I can't have the confidence off what I need to have confidence off of. Does that make sense? That didn't sound like it makes sense. You know, but I need, for me to open up the reins, you know, I got to have clarity. Like, I got to know, or like UNP, that November buying is November buying. I feel good about it. It's not earnings positioning. Like, somebody's coming in here and bombing Novembers. And then I feel good about it. Like, I feel like he's going to come back and continue to buy. That could be the case. But I just don't have the confidence, the conviction, like I would if earnings weren't in a week. So what I'm hoping is this thing hovers around here, and ideal scenario would be, you know, the quarter's not too hot because maybe the global economy was in lockdown and there's some selling, and then they come in and boom. You know, that type of thing. So that's what I'm hoping comes out of here. You know, sometimes what you hope turns out happens. You know, like I hope some of these new economy names get a little dicey here. I hope they offer, you know, periods of weakness for even tactical entries, because I think that's going to set up well for the next rally up in these things. More participation. Yeah, I'm still holding plan. If I was going to sell plan, especially those of you who know me, okay, I got a quick trigger, okay. If I was going to had any intentions of selling plan, I would have been long gone. Long gone. I got a nice cost. All my entries are exactly at the bottom of the range where the sweeps came in. Okay. I could have sold and locked in some profit, but that's, you know, that's not what I had a plan for in the name. I have Jan calls. I figured I would have to sit through something of some turbulence eventually. And then I'm hoping what follows that turbulence is a nice leg higher that I can cash a nice ticket in those Jan calls. Maybe it happens, maybe it won't. So they can't all be winners, my friends. They can't all be winners. No, I'm not adding. At this point now, Joe, I'm waiting for fresh names. All fresh names. I wouldn't add, honestly, I wouldn't add to anything but fresh names here. You know why? That keeps you safe from, God forbid, but it's not that serious. But just in case there's a little further selling out there. You understand? If they're not sweeping anything new, if you're not getting excited about anything new at decent spots, okay, that prevents you from getting caught, you know, in a big way here, and you're gonna, you know, a rollover back to the bottom of the range. That can't happen. That could easily happen, right? That could easily happen. So what I like to see is, like what I'm going to pay attention to is post-earnings flow here. And that's going to give me an idea of how aggressive, how long I want to be, you know, playing for that upside. Or if they're not buying any fresh stuff, I have what I have with time, and I'll be looking down here for entries again. Yeah, Joe, this thing's a tricky name. Yeah, I think the couple times I traded it, I got lucky, I think. But they do okay. Sometimes they're early, these sweepers. But you got Fauci's out there pumping this thing, you know? Anytime he's out there pumping, he's scaring the poop out of everybody. Did you? Good. I'll root for you. I'll root for you. You know, it was definitely, right, considering where she was, it's not like a chase. You had really nice consolidation. They've been buying it throughout that consolidation. And then, you know, there was a nice uptick here. Really nice uptick in sweeper activity. So, If you were eyeing the name, it was worth it. It was definitely worth it. Yeah, I see it popping now. There's a headline out there. Somebody just posted it. Moshe just posted it. And you don't hear Dr. Fauci running his mouth all day long. Anytime he's vocal, and then before you know it, the stock will be at like $100, and then insiders selling galore. What a criminal operation. Oh, they had is this the phase 3 stuff that people were talking about, or that's not it? COVID virus produce antibodies. Ah. Yeah, that should be good news. That should be good news. I wanted to get my hands on one biotech, not for any size, just to have something to root on throughout all this. And of course I didn't. There was numerous names. mRNA, should have been one we put a little bit of money in down here when it caught all that action. We need our heads examined. INO, there were too many, BHVN. I really liked this BHVN too. I owned it twice. So dumb. Oh, NVAX. Oh God. What is this alt? What is this? Crazy action in this thing too, alt. What the hell is this? Yeah, that's basically, Moshe, you're right. That's what it comes down to. Like, you get any positive therapeutic or vaccine news, and you're going to get constructive price action out of the cyclicals. Again, doesn't mean that the other stuff falls apart. It wouldn't surprise me if they don't fall apart. They'll just lag. They'll lag. That's what's going to go on. Because there's a lot of money that wants to buy dips and all those things with a vaccine and without a vaccine. They're likely. Here's what each and every day we're coming to understand, that those names are the new leaders no matter what the turnout is. You know what I mean? No matter what the turnout is. It's not like COVID has to be around for these names to do well. These names are legit. They're legit. And you see what happens. And this is where, like, when you short the indices, you really don't stand a chance over the long term. The indices will struggle when some of the older names just go dead. And what they do is they take a name like Doku and they add it to the S&P 500. You know what I mean? And that's what happens. Like, you look at, the Qs and the S&P 500 and some of the leaders there now, those names, when they got added, were fresh, new leaders at the time. They weren't these big no-brainers, blue chip names. So that's what happens. Like, the indices start to stall out because some of the dinosaur names in there just go dead, and they start to add fresh heat. And that's what, ends up carrying these indices back. This is incredible, this Doku. Like, this is incredible, right? But their technology is incredible. Their growth is incredible. It's a little nuts, the upside there, but such a great name. Like, you're telling me, right? Let's just say something happens and this thing, there's some selling, right? There's not going to be buyers online waiting to get their hands on this thing on a dip. Any fresh money that comes into the market wants these things. They want these things. Not COVID proof, and they're COVID proof, period. But they're the new leaders of the new economy. This is a new economy, with COVID or not. Even if COVID, we find a vaccine, who's to say there's not another virus showing up a year from now? You know what I'm saying? It's just, this is the time right now. Bova had a whole write-up of it. it's amazing when you look at it and you think about it. I'll retweet it out when I find it, but showing you all the stuff that everybody wanted to be in, all the trends, and what it's going to look like, what it's converting to now. And it's just nuts. And that's, you know, that's just the way it goes. All right, that's just how life goes. Let's look at a couple names here we'll talk about, and then you tell me what names you guys are in. Here are the top bets for today. Okay. Again, take it with a grain of salt. Earnings, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So there's an asterisk next to top best. It's not as clean of a top bet list as it usually would be because of everything catches earnings. So I just threw on some of the good looking orders. NVIDIA, another day, another torpedo. September 420s. You know, and there was a period, you guys remember on this webinar, that we were talking about NVIDIA. They just bought every dip, you know, earlier in the rally. Every little stinking dip there was sweeper activity into. Every single one. And it wasn't much of a dip, but every little dip they were there. That was the trade. You know, and look, you get another little dip here, second day reverses. Amazing. You know, just so much demand for these things. You know, when everybody's in the pool, there probably won't be, the demand won't be there, but that's not the case right now. Here's the YY trade Yosti was talking about. Not a bad looking order. Does catch earnings August 11th. You got a little bit of time if you think you can get a trade out of it. A YY China name. All right, so always a little added risk with that, but this thing's a beast, you know. And if these China names have another run coming, which is very possible, because there's these disruptive fund money that is starting to look at these China names because Doku and all these names are just so hot right now. So they're looking for like YY. I told you Huya, there's some fun buying in. They're looking to some of these China names that there's that reward there. All right, so this wouldn't shock me. This is one of them. Can move to Baba. It's just this is another beast of a stock, you know, flow wise. Just a beast of a stock. You got earnings coming up. Yeah, you got China. I mean, Trump bashing China every 5 seconds. I don't know. You know, remember you had that fear that he was going to get like delist these things or whatever the case. I don't know what the hell's going on. That scared me out of PDD. Like I didn't pull the trigger on that PDD flow because of all that stuff. So just know there's added risk. You know, there's added risk in these things. So Baba caught August 28th, 250 calls, catches earnings. Nice size bet. Nothing major, but nice size bet for Baba. Opening bet. Spot, this is more of a bounce sweep, okay? Not an earnings bet if you were interested in playing a name just for the bounce. 729 earnings. Opening July 257s. You know, Spot is an animal. Look at that bounce today, too. mRNA moving still. Wow. Dr. Fauci, paging Dr. Fauci. Fucking Dr. Fauci. All right, so what else we got here? Joe, you cracked me up. Oh, Solo. You guys know this name, right? This is one of those, what do they call them? Battery plays, right? So Solo caught action here into this and exploded higher. And the flow went kind of dead. And then just today, some spec action, but aggressive. So if you were looking at the name, here's your dip. And this would be somewhere where you would look at it. Short dated. So I don't know how to read that, basically. Maybe they're playing a bounce in a $3 stock, for crying out loud. Anyway, caught some decent sweeps. Had a little momentum and then went dead. This is a 5-minute. Ran about 50 cents. And then ran out of juice when they stopped sweeping. All right, and then after that, very similar to the Solo action, STM, which the amount of action there is just, I could say that a lot about several names these days. Just the amount of action in the options market is crazy. This is an ADR, okay? So it's slow, but they may be playing for news. They may be playing for news. I mean, look at Maxim. That just caught a buyout. So semis, we've been seeing some flow. The semis still look beautiful, right? They still look good. I know the Niner. I know blah, whatever the case. Maybe they breathe a little here. That could be totally normal. A little breather here. We would want that. But all the same names look great. If they do dip, you have all these names on a list. LRCX doesn't want to dip, but if it does dip again, this thing's a beast, right? We talk about it constantly. TSM, just another monster in the making. All right, the Marvel, the SWKS. You want to get more cyclical, you look at it like a Texas Instruments, NXPI. They all look great. They all look great. They're all monsters and they all look great. Great. The Cuervo is a laggard, a bit of a laggard, but still look canceled. Still looks fantastic. No? Look at Cuervo. And Cuervo has a tendency of doing this while some of the semis are pushing higher and people get frustrated and get shaken out. And then it does this. I remember last time. So this thing was lagging a bit here and just chopping around and not doing much. See how just straight sideways? Wore some people out and then just look at that explosion. So this is another 5G semi behemoth. They all look good, right? They look better on dips. Cuervo hasn't really moved too much, so you don't need to dip there. But some of the other ones like LRCX already, these are nice moves already. You're chasing a bit here. Like, look at this LRCX. That's a really nice move already. So especially just down days, if you see action come in on a down day, it's a really good sign in these things. And a really good sign. Some of the other ones, just choppy, right? AMD. Can't believe we ran into another Niner here. You got to be kidding me. Is ES pushing off the vaccine? Oh, we're close now. Where is it? Yeah, right. So anyway, those are the top bets. There was other action out there, like I said, Boeing, and all that stuff. That UMP call more action. What other names? All the tickers, yeah. So you got most likely the economically sensitive names are going to do well, exactly, off positive vaccine news. Disney's been catching some flow too. You know, Disney's been catching some decent sweeper activity. You got earnings early August, but you got some time. Mar, that's a hotel name. I like that name. You know, you talk about the heart of COVID, right? I mean, it's like airlines and hotels, but you got decent players in this name, Marriott. Doesn't look bad. Doesn't look bad to me. Yeah, I like it. There was also risk reversal in it that I like. You know, again, the only thing is I would love, like I wouldn't mind buying Marriott after they report with time. Like I wouldn't mind it at all. Did you buy the Jans? Yeah. Well, you get any positive vaccine news, you should get a squeeze in it. There's been some Jan flow. I'm sure that's what you're referencing. But yeah, all these names, you know, and they're gonna move in packs, right? They move in packs all together because they're all tied to the virus. There's Boeing. Thing is, you got to dodge landmines too in this. Like yesterday, this thing caught a nice bet. Oh, it wasn't down that much today. And then caught some news, bad news today. I'm sure it's factored in though. You know, but this was another name. Yesterday caught some really big action for this name. And, you know, you got earnings coming up here. So see, here's the problem, right? Let's say you buy CCL. Let's just say, I'm giving an example, right? And they have earnings next week, okay? And you buy CCL Jans. If you're not going to hold through earnings, what the hell are you buying Jan for, right? I don't care what they swept. Like if you're buying Jans, you're not playing the next week. So you have to hold through earnings and then be willing to add to it. You know, otherwise, you know, play next week expiration, try to catch a little move, and case close. You're playing for momentum. So that's the problem with earnings. You know, you have to hold through if you're like UNP. Okay, this is a perfect example because this is a name I would have bought without earnings here, without a doubt. Without a doubt, I would have bought it. You know, but if I buy it, I got to be willing to add if it's down off earnings, you know, or be willing to hold my position through earnings. And I can't sell just playing earnings run up with Novembers. So, you know, based off what we're seeing, the flow we're seeing right now, I'm willing to wait. I'm willing to wait. Maybe they set up even better, you know, off earnings. We'll see. You know, they can rally for a week, then maybe cool down a little bit. They go back into the software names and all that stuff, and then we can revisit some of this stuff post earnings. And I'm dying to see what the flow looks like post earnings. I'm dying. You know, I'm dying. So that's it. Moral of the story: riffraff short. Sharp money, still long in a pretty big way. Okay, not a bullish signal out of the sharp money, but still long in a big way. And, you know, with that in front of us, we got to look to take advantage of weakness, whether we're playing on the tactical side or we're looking for names to buy with time. And we'll take day by day. We look at earnings and how things play out here. You got Netflix coming up. What do you guys think is going to go on there? Off earnings. You think nothing? Like a sell on the news, nothing? Or, yeah, straight to 600. I could see so many, I could see any scenario you guys put out there. You know what I'm saying? Like I could see this thing exploding again, the way things are. Right. I could see a sell on the rip. I mean, a rip on the news and then they sell it. I can see a sell on the news and then they rip it. I can see a million different things. Right, Nick. Netflix is down off of mRNA news. Is that nuts? It is. Probably a buy. Yeah, Roku. You see, Roku frustrated the daylights out of all of us and then finally got hot. Finally got hot. PTON, don't get me wrong, I love the stock because it treated me well every time I traded it. But I don't understand this. Like, this is really that big of a stay-at-home play? Like, people are really buying these bikes? I guess so, right? If you can't go to the freaking gym. But aren't these bikes like really pricey? Right, $3,000 bikes, right? And you got to subscribe right to the videos and stuff. Everybody's crying poverty out there, and they're buying $3,000 bikes. They're calling for the Great Depression, and people are buying $3,000 bikes. How do you figure this out? Probably. You're probably right. Probably everybody trying to short that thing too. That could be the case. Stimulus? They're buying bikes with the stimulus? Oh my God. What degenerates in this country. Yeah, honey, I was going to buy some food so we can eat and pay the rent, but I decided to buy this bike we can work out on. Right. So you can hang some clothes on. Oh, Jesus. What a world. What a world. What else? Anybody have any under the hood stuff that they're looking at? Any under the radar? Not your, here we go. Band. What is that? Nice symbol. Bandwidth. That's just got a symbol of parabolia to it. Band. Hot stock, right? INMD. That caught a nice sweep not too long ago. INMD. Even the money, August, puts and trip. I got to check that out. I didn't see anything that looked too clean, but I'll check that out, Dad. OR, that's a gold miner, caught a little bit of play, right? Yeah, I'm still in B8C. As boring as all hell, but I got a decent time, so I'm not just going to sell it because I'm bored. I got decent entry and decent time, so I'm just going to sit still. Yeah, I love when IPOs catch their first round of action. Like, this is the one I'm waiting for. ZI. I'm waiting for the first round of sweeper activity in that thing. Lemonade. They didn't start trading options yet, did they? Or they started? Today. Interesting. Interesting. Lemonade. NC. Oh, that was today, right? NCNO. That's a software name, isn't it, Scott? Yep. Definitely got to keep an eye out for flow in that. That's why. And you see the IPOs, this is another thing like the 90s. This is what happened just like there. You get these IPOs. There are a lot of money to be made in this industry, and more new names. Like the ZI is supposedly a monster in the making. And, people were expecting a move off the IPO, just went dead. You see what happened to Zoom Remember when they came public? It came public at the worst time ever. Look at this. And then got hot. So you could catch some nice, if you have the patience, some nice moves. Some of the biggest winners I've seen off flow are some of those IPO names. And some names that are, still monsters now, some aren't. Like GoPro. GoPro was one of the biggest winners off sweeper activity post IPO. A monster. Monster. Roku was another one. Roku. IQ. Look at this. IQ. Crowd. There's a lot of them. Right. You don't have to marry them. But, the appeal is that there's no supply and, you know what I mean? New name, funds, players want to get their hands on it. And you have the capabilities of this. Blue Nile, I remember that. So yeah, that's why, I'm hoping the next rally, the next phase that comes from this trend here is that there's some new names, fresh names that come to the mix, Because let's be honest, a lot of the names, that was the problem. This rally has been a killer, but a lot of the names, they got old. Like, right, we were seeing Peloton sweepers galore. How many? That's it. Case closed. Like, we already know. Okay, you like Peloton, right? It's a strong stock. They sweep it nonstop. Neo, sweepers every day. We get it. We get it already, Neo, right? Enough. So now we want new names. And it's exciting, too. You're like, oh, what do they do? What do they do? I love the new name stuff. Because these things get crowded, too. They get crowded. Any negative news, you get lumped up if you're in these things. So I want some fresh names. Fresh names. All right, we'll see what happens. But anyhow, we got earnings. We take it nice and easy. Look to take advantage of this little rotation going on, playing off the momentum. But post earnings, that's where all the true colors will come out. All right, all the true colors come out post earnings. That's where we really need to pay attention and try to get some signs out of the flow and sweeper activity from there. NK, that's an IPO. Biotech. Damn, some of these biotechs too. I can't believe it. Can't believe it. Right, it's the summer. It hasn't, knock on wood, hasn't been too bad, It's been entertaining enough to stay involved. Sometimes it's, puts you to sleep. Do I see any risk? I don't see what I see. What's capable of happening, like I have no crystal ball, I don't know. But if there's something where they want to sell and take this and keep this in a range, right? It's possible, of course. But as far as like, if you're concerned about a bigger move lower, I don't think the positioning out there allows it. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I thought we had our best shot here of getting down to here. That was our best shot. They threw everything at it. Everything at it. But they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. You got a lot of money on the sidelines. And if there's rotation in the cyclicals, they're going to have their hands full, shorts. They're going to have their hands full. You know, I just realized you brought up Jimmy SPWR. It's supposed to be on this list. I think I chopped it off 3 hours ago. Wait a second. Oh, here's the top bet list. That was intraday. Here's the top bet list. Here's SPWR. August 10s. That was a big order. And SWBI. I was wondering what the hell happened there. But yeah, that was a big order in this SunPower. You know, is it earnings related? I don't know. But that was a big order. August 10s. They have early August earnings. These solar names have been hot too, Jim. They've been hot. Run. We've been talking about that name, right? Seen some flow. That's been hot. CSIQ caught a little bit of action with that SunPower. Strong name. Look at this. Sedge is an animal. And that ENPH, you got a lot of shorts in that thing. A lot of shorts. So you got a lot of good-looking names in this group. You know, I don't know the story with SunPower. They've been around a while. You know, it's been single digits for a while, this thing. But that was a big order today. So if you like it, you know, I don't know if you're going to hold it through earnings or not, but maybe you could catch a move before then. If you're looking to play that, there's definitely momentum in these names. Like the run caught news. That's why you got this. But even prior was a nice move and run. There's a lot of that fun money I mentioned in this thing too. Like the ARC, you guys know those ARC funds and all that? They buy the daylights out of these things. Oh, good call, George. Good call. Good call. Could be that Biden plan. Yeah, Kathy Wood. Right? She's the goddess on Tesla with the big price targets. And she's buying, you know, I see every night she's buying all these names. She trades around them like Tesla. She sold, nailed the highs recently here. But she keeps that core position. She's awesome. Was she? Why? As a disruptor? What are you going to do, though? How? You can't avoid that. You can't avoid that. Corruption? How do we know? What are we going to do? Look at balance sheets? TMUS? I don't really follow it as much as I used to. I used to trade this name a lot of sweeper activity. You know, but it catches flow time to time, like the dish. I don't really trade them too much, though. But can catch action. Yeah, TMUS has had a big run. TMUS has had a big run. Ford, Tree, I don't know, like, if you gave me the money, I don't know if I could buy Ford. And it doesn't even look too bad, but I just can't buy Ford. Is it really? Oh, so look at that. Maybe it's got a little hype to it too. New Bronco. Wow. Yeah, BlackBerry. Net, you know, I would like a little more of a dip, but you guys know I like Net. I like the flow in Net. I like Net. You know, guys, for me, I tell you, it's hard for me when I own something here, okay, and then sell it here. It's hard for me to get long here. I can't do it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe you guys don't have the problem. Like, I could do it maybe a year from now, but I can't 2 weeks later after I sold this like a jackass, buy it up here. You know, if I liked it that much, I should have rolled. And I did like it. But you know what I mean? I mean, that's the definition of chasing, right? And you see a lot of retail players do it constantly, right? They buy Amazon, they sell it, and then a day later, name's going bananas, and they're just buying it up there. Like thinking they could just climb the ladder and buy and keep buying wherever and make money. Eventually it bites you in the rear end. But I can't do it. Like I like net, right? Even with the dip, I like it. The flow's been remarkable. It reminds me of, again, IPO underbelly name that can go bananas. But I can't get myself to buy it up here when I sold it $10 lower 2 weeks ago. All right? And that goes for so many of them. D-Dog. No, I was in a swing trade net. D-Dog. SE. DKNG, I didn't even pull the trigger, but I was thinking about buying it down here off that crazy action, and I didn't, and I couldn't buy it off all the action all the way up, you know? So I like, for swings, I like initial activity. That's my bread and butter for swing trades. You know, I'm not a trader. I can't play off instincts, and I'm not playing off technicals. You know, I'm not swinging off any of that. I have no confidence in any of that. So my bread and butter for swing trades is initial activity, where a name just starts to get bombed. That's my entry. If I like it, if I'm going to own it, I got to like it right there. If I don't, I don't. I can't, you know what I mean? I can't buy $10 higher 2 weeks later. I can't do it. Because I know, too, from experience that it's more prone to failure. You know, sweeps fail up here. Obviously. There's nothing better than where that initial activity comes in. You don't know if they're rolling. You don't know what they're doing up here. But the initial activity is always the best spot. Always the best risk reward. Always. And at the same time, I told you what it prevents me from doing, which has been the most important thing of it all. It prevents me from holding a bag when things may roll over. All right? So my sweeper activity is a major indicator of mine. If they're not sweeping new names, the likelihood is they're not doing it for a reason. You know what I mean? Like if a rally is going to have legs, right, and sweepers have confidence in that rally having legs, they find fresh ideas constantly. Constantly. You guys see when we come out of corrections or consolidation, right? New names constantly. Every day there are new names. Every day. Look at all the names we're mentioning right now, all of them. They all had initial activity at decent spots. All of them. We may not, maybe they didn't look as good there to us, but they all do, right? If I just start buying dips up here for swing trades of possible rolling, you know, I could get caught with a bag and get walloped. The start of a rally, there's always fresh sweeper, initial sweeper activity. Always. Yeah, but that too, work is old news. Like, you know what I mean? Granted, not every stock is going to look like D-Dog. It doesn't work that way. You know, it just doesn't work that way. This is what the work rally looks like. For whatever reason, this is what the work rally looked like. You know? There was initial sweeper activity in work, and you could have made some nice money. You wouldn't have made the money you made in a D-Dog or a Doku or whatever. But that's the game. If the game was that every single name in that sector, went bonkers, everybody be a gazillionaire. Fiserv, they rolled out that size position to, what was it, Jans, I think now. But there's a big player in that Fiserv. You know what the problem is with this thing, Trey? It gets lumped in with the financials, where it probably shouldn't. That's the problem. So when the financials trade lower, this thing is heavy. Maybe it ends up breaking that trend. Yeah, it's supposedly supposed to be fintech, isn't it? But it doesn't trade like fintech. Right. It just, Fiserv though, my clearinghouse was Fiserv when I was a broker. Like Fiserv, I mean, they transitioned this business. I don't know. It was considered financial, like FDC, like that. Yeah. Wait, not this FDC. The other FDC, right? They bought out FDC. Exactly. First Data. But yeah, there's been some, like even this PAGS too. Bova loves this name, but this PAGS gets wrapped up into financials, and this is fintech. Sometimes, look, it had this crazy run back then, but still here, can't get out of its own way. It's had a nice bounce off the lows, though. Opening the initial activity, right, that I'm talking about is when sweepers first start to get aggressive in the name. Okay, so like I'll give you an example. Like the ZI, I'm waiting for sweeper activity in. All right, there's going to be a day where it catches sweeper activity. That will be initial activity. Okay, that's going to be initial activity. So let's say tomorrow ZI off this niner catches sweeper activity. That's initial activity. All right. In 2 weeks, if it's up here and it's catching more sweeper activity, that's not initial sweeper activity. Just because you may like it better, just because maybe it broke through a technical level, that's a whole different story, right? That's a different strategy. And that's okay if you use sweeper activity that way. But for me, it's the initial buying, okay? Because the way I look at it is, the reason they're buying it, I need to buy it right there with them, okay? I don't want to buy it when I'm convinced in their idea at higher levels. They obviously know a lot more than I do. You understand? So I'm getting in when nobody else is looking to get in. That's where like initial activity stems, right? When net was catching initial activity, nobody was interested in the name. Now everybody's looking at the name. So a lot of big winners start obviously from initial activity. So that's what I mean by initial activity. Opening is just the action that's coming in. We know they're opening a new position because the volume is greater than open interest. So it gives you more clarity on the order flow there. Yeah, like you see what I mean? Like if ZI catches sweeper activity here, okay, look, people are losing interest in this thing because it's not doing the thing. It's useless. All right, so we may see a couple sweeps sneak in, and that's our heads up that momentum may be possibly coming into the name. All right, so that's where we want to own it. We don't want to see the momentum come in and then we buy it. We want to already be in it for that momentum. And that's why, you know, again, that's the greatest of the risk reward or sweeper activity. You know, the problem is like what I'm sure a lot of you are going through. When you have a rally like we just had, you know, it becomes old news, right? Peloton sweepers, Neo sweepers galore. It's not new action anymore. So if you're waiting for initial activity, you don't have any. So that's the problem, but it keeps you disciplined, right? It keeps you disciplined. So that's the good out of it. But when you're a degenerate, there's no good out of it. And that's that. Yeah, CTFC data, COT data. Yeah, run, we just went over run. Now, again, old news now. Old news now. All right, so that's what I'm waiting for anyhow. I'm waiting for fresh action here. I have to wait for post earnings just so I feel better about it. But any action that comes in that catches earnings, obviously I'm keeping track of it, and we'll see what it looks like. But I'm just staying patient here, waiting for some earnings to get out. And like I said, we'll get a clearer picture of what they're buying, right? So we know to lean bullish now. You know, we can do that tactically, especially off weakness. But as far as like where the hot money may be going or where it may be staying, we got to be a little patient to get answers on that front. No. Initial activity on the IPOs, that's what I was using as an example. But initial activity, like I get that question a lot. So let's say like Peloton, right? Okay. Obviously, there's no initial activity at this point. What you need consolidation. So you need Peloton to go into consolidation. And what you see, you're going to see the sweeper activity go dry. Or maybe puts, right? So maybe you see put players, put sweepers start to participate. And then for a month or two, the flow dries up, chop, downtrend, whatever it may be. And then all of a sudden, you see call sweepers come in. That's initial activity. Okay, so I'll give you an example before we run. SE, a name we use a lot to make ourselves sick. Okay, the first time I owned SE was off a bull risk reversal. The first time I've ever seen action in it, initial activity was right here, December 2018. Okay, 3 bull combos were opening into the death of that correction. All right, and then obviously had a crazy run, but you had this and they hit that, right? So here was another entry here. Recently, I can't believe this chart. I'm looking at this chart and I'm losing my mind. But anyway, the most recent action we played off of, you see this consolidation here? They hit it here. So this is where SE sweepers showed up again off this consolidation. You understand? And then since then, you know, there's been sweeper. There was a sweeper today again. So that's initial activity. Yeah, exactly. You got to get lucky. Yeah, I told you, the only thing, John, usually they don't bother me because I'm used to it by now, okay? The thing that bothers me about this is my baby. Like I was crying the first time not leaving at least a piece alone. And then here again, I did it, not leaving a piece alone. Like this was my baby, Essie. So that's why this bothers me. You know, there's plenty of other stuff that I sold that's gone cuckoo. But this one gets to me a little bit because she's my baby, Essie. When I initially bought it, I didn't even know what they did. I had no clue what they did. I didn't even know where they were from. But there were 3 bull combos. They were selling puts and buying calls in a market that looked like it was going to zero. You know, so they forced me to buy it. Yeah, you kidding me? That's what I'm saying. There's so many that you could get sick over. But you know, you take a liking to whatever technicals or flow in a name that you really believe in, and when you let it go and it does this, you get nauseous. That's what I'm waiting for, Dan. I'm waiting for the post-earnings sweeper activity to guide me to where I should be looking. Because I really don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like if they aggressively sweep these economically sensitive names post-earnings, then they got something up their sleeve. They either think there's going to be a vaccine, a therapeutic, in the not too distant future, and they're looking to factor that in. But, you know, if they go back into these new economy names, you know, it could be just the same old story, but these new economy names are a whole new market. They're a whole new economy in themselves. So that's what I'm waiting for. You know, that's what I'm waiting for. Yeah, right now those are earnings chasers, you know, because that pile of money, they don't have exposure. So they're looking to put on exposure in these names. They just keep coming in and buying these things. But I'm telling you, this kind of has a 1998-99 look to it. And what it looked like, what the action looked like, you get the big rip, then you get these punch in the jaws, and then new highs, right? Then a nice rip to new highs, punch in the jaw, new highs. And it went a year. They split 2 for 1, right? They went to $500 a share, split 2 for 1, went back to $400 a share. Like that is a bubble. That was 1999. This is not 1999. And so in 99, these names weren't even profitable. With no profits in sight. They were early on the internet phase. You're seeing now why 1999 happened. All that buying in 1999 was playing for what we're seeing now in technology. They were just early. They were early. All right, brothers and sisters. Good luck out there. Stay safe. Stay patient. All right, we'll take it day by day. We'll have some action and some entertainment anyhow with earnings on the horizon. Be good, everybody. Thanks for stopping by.